Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another recommendations video. And today we are doing my channel member sponsored video. This is for tiers romantic, renegade, and above who get to choose a video that they sponsor as one that they, really wanted me to make. And so a shout out to my channel members for picking this one. And as you can tell by the title, they picked paranormal romance, which crazily enough, everyone, I have never done a paranormal romance recommendation video. I've done some fantasy ones and sometimes those blend together. I feel like some that are fantasy could be paranormal and it could go kind of either way. Also, check out my cute shirt. It says Smut Squad. I found it on Etsy from Foss Designs. If I remember, I'll link it down below, but that's their name because I was cruising through Etsy to find some cute shirts to wear, which, I've been showing them off lately. And this one, I'm so excited. I still have a couple more coming, but this one, I put it in a picture on my Instagram and everyone just like freaked out over it. You can do like different colors of their writing and different shirts. So if you're a smutty reader like me, maybe you should join the Smut Squad with me, just saying. Nobody's asking me to promote this. It's just adorable. So there you go. But yeah, so one of the reasons I haven't made paranormal recommendations is that most of my close Booktube friends have, and I feel like I don't have a ton of variation from them. But then again, some of you might be finding this video for the first time or you don't follow my friends. So sorry for the overlap, but hopefully I have a few that are a surprise. I'm going to kind of start with the classics that everyone shows, and then I'll maybe have some that are different for you. So also, because I have to film these days when I get home from work right away, I'm too lazy to go grab books. Even some of them are right behind me. I'm just going to show pictures for this one. I'm sorry. But also I feel like I play with the book too much when it's in my hands. So whatever. But okay, let's dive into these. So like I said, I'm going to start with the ones that are most common, okay? Immortals After Dark by Kresley. I have an entire video that's dedicated to this. I absolutely love this series. This series has a little bit of everything. The main female protagonists throughout the series are going to be the Valkyrie. They're not all the females are Valkyrie, but one of the reasons why this series is so awesome to me is because of how strong the female characters are. I mean, to me, that is really a staple of a good fantasy or paranormal, is when you have human women, or you have women who might be weaker than these powerful beings. They need to be sassy AF. They need to be strong. They need to be fierce. Well, luckily in the IAD universe, Immortals After Dark, there are these women who are Valkyrie, which they are the like primordial badass women, okay? They're amazing. They're amazing. And so we get to see them quite a bit throughout the series. We also have our werewolves, we have our vampires, we have demons, we have, what else is there in here? There's like gods and devils, and there are creatures that are like angels. Like there's some of everything. My personal favorites in this series is probably going to be book number 4, which I think is Wicked Deeds at Night's Edge. I also love Lothair. I love Sweet Ruin, and I love Wicked Abyss. Those are some of my favorites, just throwing it out there. If you want to know more in depth, again, I have a video where I go through all of the books. There are definitely other people's videos too that go much more in depth into the IAD, but I love these books. They have some of the craziest situations, like consistently, Kresley will set up a situation where I think there is a hero who's just too much of a dick, or there's a heroine who just will never love someone, and then it works out because romance reasons. That is the promise of the premise of a paranormal romance, is that it will all work out in the end, okay? Also, this is a fated mate series. Quite a bit of paranormal romance is going to be fated mates because that's what makes it kind of special and stuff. Then there is the Psy-Changeling series by Nalini Singh. I've read through book 12 in this series. There's still more to go. I got a wee bit burned out. I do plan to go back and finish it because I know some of the later ones are still really great. But once I got through my favorite characters, I was kind of like, I was pooped. Like, let's be honest, I was pooped, okay? Also because this series, we tend to get to see a lot of what's happening in the world at large, And sometimes that would get frustrating to me because I like to stay with my couple the whole time. I don't want to see what's happening in the world. But the thing is, with Psy-Changeling, that's kind of the point of this, is we have our couples who are finding each other, and there's also the bigger picture. What kind of couples, you ask? I realize I didn't say that. So we have the Psy and we have the Changelings. I know, brilliant. It's called the Psy-Changeling. But the way that they're different is that the Psy, it was decided that people shouldn't have emotions anymore. So there was this thing called the silence, when everyone was supposed to shut off their emotions. Because you know what? Yeah, humans, they would stop killing and murdering people if they didn't have emotions, right? If they didn't let love make them make stupid decisions. Seems like a smart plan. Seems like a smart plan. There are different kinds of Psy. There are ones who have telekinetic powers. There are ones who have like elemental powers. There are ones who have like healing abilities, or all these different things. But on the whole, they are supposed to be kind of emotionless from the time they're very little. Then we have the Changelings, which are just like they sound. They turn into cats or wolves or rats or bears or lynx. They can turn into any of these things, and they are generally part of a pack, and this pack usually has an alpha, and this alpha is super awesome. And so in the Psy-Changeling series, we have two main packs we're dealing with. We have the Night Dancer, and we have the Snow Dancer, and the, did I just mess that up? I can't remember, but there is a like Snow Leopard pack, and there's like a Night Dancer, which are like the Wolves pack. Those are our like main groups. And these two alphas early on decide to team up together because in the very first book, there is this Psy who is a serial killer. And see, the Psy, they have this council who's supposed to be the ruling bodies. And they don't want it to get out that a Psy could be a serial killer. But here's the thing. Psychopaths, they already don't have emotion. I think it's psychopaths who don't have emotion. I always get the confused. And so they still like to kill people whether they have emotions or not. And so therefore there can be great evil that comes. And when you don't have any goodness or gentleness or kindness in your society to temper that evil, things can get a little crazy. So quite often in this series, we'll have a Psy and a Changeling together. We'll have two Changelings together. On a blue moon, we'll have a Psy and a Psy together who overcome it to be together. This series is really wonderful. Even talking about it, it's getting me excited again. One of the elements that I extremely loved, and why it got a little tough for me later on in the series, because there was more stuff to do with the Psy than there was to do with the Changeling. And like, I want to be with the Changeling. That's what is important to me the most anyway. And so it was difficult to be away from them, because the Changelings, someone always decides to leave when I decide to film. It's real great. We'll wait for that to happen. And like, touch is very important. You need to be around your pack. You need to be loved and accepted. And one of the ways that people get punished is you will kind of be like cut off for a little while. But it's considered too cruel to long-term cut people off from their pack, because it would just drive them mad with what's called touch hunger. Like, they literally would go crazy. Now, being someone who, this was really appealing to me while we were dealing with COVID, because I am a physical touch person. This is something I talk about quite often on my channel. And so needing to keep distance to like keep people safe, to not hug people, to not hold hands, it was very difficult for me. So I really appreciated that when I was reading it. So I don't know what's happening. All right. Next, another series that I feel like is talked about quite a bit lately, and with good reason, will be the Stay a Spell series by Juliette Cross, who, not gonna lie, I am good friends with her. However, I did read her books before I met her. Virtually met her. I haven't met her in person yet. Someday. But these books currently consist of 2 books in the series, but there will there is going to be 6, and it is about the Savoy sisters. So the first book is called Wolf Gone Wild. I actually recently just reread this. It was totally amazing, because the audiobooks are coming out from Podium Audio, and the wonderful Aidan Snow did the voice of Mateo and Alpha. And so the beginning of this book is we have Mateo, who is a werewolf, and he hasn't been able to transform into his wolf for a few months now. And that is a really dangerous thing because his wolf now has pushed his way to the surface, and his wolf's name is Alpha. Alpha is a horny, angry, aggressive male, but we love him, and he wants to fight every dog they walk by and fuck every woman that they see. And this is happening in Mateo's head all the time. And so he throws himself upon the mercy of the Savoy sisters, who are the like a very important witch family in New Orleans. And he just throws himself on their mercy. Now, they normally don't work with werewolves, but Mateo seems like a good lad. I'm being so weird today. And so they agree to help him. And so we have Evie Savoy, who is a hex breaker, and they think what's on him might be a hex. And so she is spending time with him to see if she can figure out how to break what is put on him. The next book in this series currently is called Don't Hex and Drive, and this is about another one of the sisters. My brain totally went crazy. Is it Isabel? Oh, my brain went crazy, but I know that the guy's name is Devraj. He is a Bollywood actor, which is amazing, and he's a vampire, so he's been around for quite a while. He is sexy and beautiful, and there is something happening. Women are disappearing and turning up dead, and so he asks the Savoy sisters to help them find out who the killer is, because if it's one of his kind, which they're pretty sure it is, he wants to shut that shit down. The next one is supposed to be coming out this summer, and it's going to be called Witches Get Stitches, and I believe this one is Nico, who I'm very excited for. I believe he's a werewolf as well. Yes, because he's Mateo's cousin, and I'm very excited for it. So excited. These ones are great because they have a lighthearted flair to them. They're not as dark and intense as some paranormals can be. Then let's go down my list now. I've jumped around. Then there's a recent read for me called The Lunatics by Navessa Allen. This is volume 1. So volume 2 she is currently writing. So just so you know, this does have kind of a cliffhanger because volume 1 and volume 2, they're all like the same story. So it's the same couple, but this has a great setup. This is, this girl named Layla, and the vampire's name is Michael. Or not the vampire. They're both werewolves. Sorry. We have a wolf named Layla, who is a like country wolf, and then we have Michael, who is a city wolf. And the city wolves are definitely more buttoned up and contained because they need to be. If they're living in the city, they can't be as loosey-goosey as the wolves are who live in the country. And so they both end up at a mating ceremony, but they're there for other people, because what you can do is that there's a spell that witches can do that will like reveal your mate to you. But the thing is, it's a big deal to take on a mate, because once you have a mate and you are in the beginning of the bonding process, you need to be around each other pretty much all the time. You can only get so far away from each other, or else it like physically hurts you. Something goes awry with the spell, and instead of it just including the people who are voluntarily there to find a mate, it ends up including pretty much every wolf who's there. So these two who did not plan on finding a mate today end up with a mate. And they are polar opposites in so many ways, but what I really love is how they try to make the best of it all along the way. I mean, I don't know the conclusion of this couple's story yet, but I am so impressed with this author's writing. I'm a big fan at this point. I've read every book that she has out, and I'm anxiously waiting for more of them to be available to me, because I'm very interested in how she set these up. This one does lean a little more new adult. It's not quite as spicy maybe as some of the other ones I've mentioned, but the tension is amazing, and I love the communication between the two of them. This is definitely a case of like, there's a lot that he doesn't know, because city wolves just grow up so differently. So there's a lot that they have to teach each other. And it's great. It's great. Then there is the Playing with Monsters series by Amelia Hutchins. I'm currently only on I'm about to start book 3 in this trilogy. I guess this is also part of a bigger series of Amelia Hutchins that involves like fae and witches and stuff. And this is a spin-off trilogy. I haven't read the other ones. I've only read these. I also would consider these ones romantic fantasy, but they do take place in like current times. There's just more heavily on like magic and stuff like that, and there is like demons and angels and all this stuff involved. So really, I feel like it could fit in paranormal or romantic fantasy. This one is so hard to explain. It's so hard to explain, but it's basically well, not basically, because this one doesn't have no like basically it's this, but we have our hero who's kind of a villain, and he is very, very old, and there is this love that he has that she keeps being reincarnated, and then as soon as he falls in love with her, she dies. So it's kind of that setup. And so he's fated to find her and fuck her and fall in love with her, and then she dies. And I don't really need to say more than that. This one is definitely, there is some dubious consent in this. This one is very sexy. I would consider this very high on the Steam level. If you use Steam levels, I would consider this the highest of the ones I've mentioned so far. Although, I mean, we're about to get into some steamier ones. But, yeah. This is a series that I don't quite know how I feel about it, but I have to keep reading it. Because I have to know how it's going to end. So, there's that. Then I recently read Black Sunshine by Karina Halle. This is part 1 in a duet that she's going to have coming out. This is about a girl who is raised not knowing that she is part vampire. And at the beginning of the book, we actually see her parents, who are vampire hunters, killing who they think is her parents. But it turns out, like, I won't spoil everything, but that's the prologue of this book, is her parents saving her and then adopting her and raising her as their own. And then we have this badass old vampire who finds out who she is and comes for her. They have a very sexy relationship. Some people gave this a hard time. I will say the world building is quite intense. And one of the reasons I liked it, it was very unique, but it also was a little bit confusing. But I'm very interested in reading more about this couple. I ended up really liking them because the way that the hero, when he finally kind of like breaks for her and they have this really strong bond together, it was very powerful to me. I'm very excited to see where it goes next. Oh boy. Next we have the Blood Alliance series by Lexi C. Foss. Now this one is also very high in the Steam fans. This also has slavery, and it has dubious consent and well, slavery I would call non-consent, but let me tell you the setup. So the Blood Alliance series, which is actually, nope, it's higher up there, like I said. It's set in a time where werewolves and vampires now rule the world, and humans are an enslaved race. In fact, there's not too many humans left because the wolves fuck them and breed them to breed more wolves out of them. And the vampires will fuck them and bleed them and kill them. And so there are not many humans left. But never fear. Well, actually, you should definitely fear because it's terrifying. There is this small group of vampires who want humans to have a seat at the table. Like, they don't want them to be slaves. They still want to eat them. They need to eat them. But they don't want humans to not have a choice in the matter. You know, they believe that there has always been humans who are willing to be fed on by vampires because it's hot. So why do we need to do this? But what happens at the beginning of this book, there's this girl who is up for auction because she's what's called a blood virgin. It means that no one has ever sucked her blood and no one has ever fucked her before. She's been raised to be this pure thing to be auctioned off. And she ends up getting purchased by one of the men who's a part of this like secret group. But the thing is, he needs to keep up appearances. So even though he doesn't believe in the submission of humans, he needs a heroine who will obey him and not question him and not like fuck that up, because if he appears weak or he appears like he's not following it, he could be killed. So it's a very tricky setup. And I mean, again, if you are at all uncomfortable by non-consent or dubious consent, just stay away, because there are definitely some gray, there are some gray, fuzzy, murky lines in this series because of what our hero has to do. And some people may say that he doesn't need to do those things. And I say it's sexy as hell, so I'm fine with it. But just know that Jenn warned you, be careful. The 5th book of this series comes out next month, and I cannot wait. I love this series. I've read all 4 of them, and they just get better in my opinion. Chastely Bitten is the toughest one in the series to get through in my opinion, because there's a lot of setup, and the heroine is the most submissive of all of them. We then have other characters we meet who the next 3 books, like, all start on, like, the same day, the same event that happens. Because there's this event that is kind of like a Hunger Games, where if you win it, you get the chance to become a vampire or a werewolf. So you don't get given out. It's very interesting. This series is wackadoodle, and I love it. Then I have a little bit of a tamer one. This one's right behind me. Let me just grab it. I decided to put it under paranormal because it has to do with the devil, and there's some magic in it. And that's Midnight with the Devil by Emma Castle. This one is definitely a lot more low-key than some of these other ones I've mentioned. This one is a sex deal with the devil. And so we have our heroine, whose name is Diana, and her father is dying of cancer. And see, the devil, he needs to corrupt pure souls to keep the gates of hell strong. So it basically requires the sacrifice of a pure soul so that he can keep hell strong, to keep all the evil inside of it. And so he has been told that Diana has one of the purest souls he'll ever find. So when he sees her weakness, which is her father being sick, she makes a deal with him that for 3 months, he will give her every Friday night and have sex with him. So it's a sex deal. And he can do whatever kind of dirty sex to her that he wants. And then by the end of it, he will have corrupted her soul. This is a short book. I really liked this story because it was pretty unique. If you like Lucifer, the Netflix series, I think you might be interested in this. He even goes by Lucian Star, you know, like Lucifer Morning Stars. So anyway, give this one a try. And then the last book that I want to talk about, I actually just read. It hasn't been an Eddie video yet, but when I saw that that my channel members wanted to sponsor Paranormal Romance, I was like, okay, let's talk about this. So I saw this book going around. It just recently was released, which I'm kind of bummed about because I really want the second one, but luckily this author writes pretty quickly. And that is A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor by Kathryn Moon. This is a reverse harem. This is a monster romance. There is fucking monsters in this book and monster fucking in this book. And this is about a girl named, her name just went out of my head. How the fuck does that happen? I love this book. I can't remember, but she is a housemaid. And she's a bit of a voyeur, and she's very sex positive and very free with herself. This is also historical. And a doctor who comes to the house where she works at notices that she likes to kind of peek in on sexual acts going on. So she's a bit of a sexual deviant. And so he invites her to come to his place to have sex with him. This doctor is really amazing. I know I just made him sound creepy, but you'll see. He's a very gentle soul. He just sees in her that she might be a little bit sexually deviant. And he's like, I know a place for you. So he invites her back to his home, and they end up having sex. But the thing is, Dr. Jonathan actually has an alter ego named Mr. Tanner, who is a monstrous man, okay? So think Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, when Mr. Hyde is a sexy as fuck dude who's like 4 times as big as Jonathan is, and he comes out when he wants to fuck, or if he needs to protect someone, or anything that would give Jonathan really high emotions, Tanner will come out. So mid-fuck, he turns into a monster, and he doesn't want her to look at him, but she is so turned on by this, and it's like the best sex ever. And then when it's done, and she wakes up, Jonathan is back. Mr. Tanner has tucked himself away. And Jonathan tells her about this house called Rooksgrave Manor where women get paid to fuck monsters. So it's literally a monster brothel. But the thing is, what's so smart about this book is that the women who are willing to fuck monsters there are worshipped. Like, worshipped by these monsters. And many of them end up finding love there because they're treated so well. They're, you know, it's like, it's a brothel, but it's more of like a meeting place for women who are cool with fucking monsters to find their monsters. But they usually have more than one. And so she meets the madam there, who really more is like, my friend Tiffany described her as like, she's more like a house mom. She makes sure that they're safe, makes sure they have protection. She's actually a witch, so she does a little witchy spell to make sure they don't get pregnant or anything, unless that's what they want. And then she goes about setting up dates for her, and she builds her harem based on these monsters she meets and who she likes and everything. And it is so good. Like, that just sounds crazy. Like, I heard this premise. Katie Robert talked about this book. Another author on TikTok that I follow talked about this book. And I was just like, I don't know. But the cover was so beautiful. And I was like, let me just try like a couple chapters, right? And I was sucked in. I actually stopped reading it to slow down because I did not want to finish it as fast as I did. It was so good. And so I will say this one works as a standalone because it does have an HEA at the end. So good. But the author says in the author's note at the end that we do have a villain who can be a villain in the next book as well. And there are other houses that are like this, and there are other girls who are like this. And I just think it's so fascinating. I think it'd be so cool if there was a guy and there was like female monsters who like if there was a brothel that had like men who like to fuck women monsters. Like, I don't know. I am so intrigued by this. I gave this book 5 stars, guys. Like, I almost gave it 6 stars, but it still was just like a little hinky with the storytelling, but overall, like, it read good. It was emotional. I was not expecting the emotions that I felt. I definitely choked up a couple times because, like, there is one MMF scene in this. There are a couple of the monsters who like each other. But wow. I also think this is a great intro to monster fucking because not most of them have a human form that they actually do the deed in. Only really like Mr. Tanner and one of the others actually has like a monstrous form that they will like fuck while they're in. So if you like reverse harem but you don't know if you like monster, give it a try. And if you like monster stuff but have never tried reverse harem, maybe give it a try. I don't know. I talked about this book for too long, but I loved it so much. It's definitely just, it blew my mind. And so it's a historical paranormal with monster fucking in it. I don't know what else to tell you. So there you go. Thank you so much to my channel members for sponsoring this video. Thank you so much to you for watching it. Make sure you like and subscribe. I don't usually talk about monster fucking on my channel, but maybe I found everything. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye.